So, welcome to our monthly Goleta Wrap meeting where we discuss the impacts of homelessness in the city of Goleta with a focus on community concerns. I am Landon Rank. I'm the Director of Programs at SB Act, and this is a partnership with the city of Goleta as a part of our broader South County collaboration to address homelessness. So, I'm here with Chuck Flax, Homeless Services Coordinator, as well as Mayor Paula Perotti and other city staff. Just a couple of quick slides to start with. One is just a note that we do these community focus meetings on the fourth Monday of the month. So our next meeting will be August 25, tail end of the summer, if you can believe that. We did want to just share a quick announcement. The Wave micro transit service under MTD launched back in April, and they were able to add the Goleta Community Center as a stop. For now, this is a free service that community members can call in and access. So I think it's really important to keep sharing that to our neighbors experiencing homelessness. It does say on their website that they will likely start charging fees maybe in September, but just want to let everybody know that the Goleta Community Center is now on the routes.
I just want to add, I know Mayor Purdy was instrumental in getting this put together. This does represent a really nice transit alternative for anybody in Goleta, but particularly for this call for people experiencing homelessness. So I hope that the folks that are on the line who are working directly with homeless people take note of this.
Wanted to share a quick update about the Faro Center. So the city of Santa Barbara has some requirements for the Faro Center moving forward, at least for the interim. And so this Friday, August 1st, it will no longer be sort of a walk-in model. It'll be by referral only. The definition of referral is still a little bit loose, so we're trying to work that out this week. Please note, we would be accepting referrals from any government agency or service provider, which includes most of you on this call. And so we're just working out what that will require. But in the meantime, you can keep sending people as you have been, and we'll fill you in more. But it is important just to share to people that they won't be able to just walk up anymore starting this Friday.
Landon, I don't know if you know or if Ellen knows, in terms of Goleta residents who are experiencing homelessness, we have quite a few folks who've been meeting their service providers at the Faro Center. Will they still be allowed to do that? Will the service providers still be able to connect with their clients?
Yes, they will. We just have to figure out how they can actually get access. So for sure, if they have an appointment with someone that's pre-scheduled, that's totally fine. The referral thing is what we're trying to figure out. I think what it'll look like is like if, let's say, an outreach worker meets someone at the Camino Real marketplace, they could give them, we're trying to get referral cards that they could hand to the individual so that when the individual shows up, they just present, like, I was specifically referred here by CityNet to meet a case manager or whatever it might be. And then their case manager could give them another referral card when they're here so they could return the next day or whatever it might be. That's kind of the model that we're working out right now, but we'll have more details this week.
And does this mean that SB, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but would SBAC consider more pop-up navigation centers given that this is no longer really a walk-in opportunity? Would SBAC consider, in future months, future years, doing more pop-up navigation centers?
Yeah, depending on how this goes, it may be. I know that the city of Santa Barbara said they're going to release a request for proposals at some point, probably this fall is my assumption, for a provider to kind of to operate the center here. And so there's going to be some changes ahead, whether it's SBAC that's doing that or not. And so it could be that then we transition to something else. But in the meantime, we do still have a pop-up center every Wednesday at the rescue mission, Wednesdays 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the east side of Santa Barbara. So we're very much keeping that model alive, and that may be the future. I don't know yet. So a whole lot of I don't know, I'm sorry, but we'll give you all more details hopefully later this week.
And I do know, although I don't know the current status of it, that the Father Virgil Gordano Center is being morphed into a much larger center that will involve drop-in. It will involve housing. It's going to be a pretty exciting new resource, but I'm not sure what the status of that is. I don't know, Landon, if either you or I probably should get a better handle on that because that's even closer than the Faro Center to Goleta. So it would be great to know more about that. I can try to bring that back to our next community meeting.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It'd be good to have, we could have Debbie from Father Virgil maybe join this call at some point. All right, so those are my announcements for today. I wanted to give it to Chuck just to share. Oh, go ahead, Mayor Perotti.
I'm so sorry. There's a lot of construction going on outside my house right now, so I missed some of it. But did you say, Landon, that we're still looking at some kind of a pop-up, or Chuck, maybe you mentioned a pop-up, or some kind of a navigation center in Goleta? Is that in the picture or no?
It's, we did locate a site, and we were moving forward with beginning to pull that together. But there have been some budgetary issues that we had to face. So we no longer, Homeless Services no longer has the budget to do that center. However, once SBAC gets through this situation with the city of Santa Barbara, I do want to talk to them about possibly seeking other funding, because I do think that there's the opportunity to do a navigation center here in Goleta at this site. It's an SBCAG owned site. They're supportive of us doing a center there. It would be on the New Wave line. So I mean, there's some real benefits to it. And so I do plan to connect with SBAC after this gets settled down with the city of Santa Barbara. They have their hands kind of full at the moment.
Okay, thank you for that.
And Len, you were going to turn it over to me? Should I just take it over?
Yes, feel free.
Okay. Oh, and I see that you've given me the sharing com. Can people see? Uh-oh, it doesn't look right. Can people see my screen? Do you see the Homeless Services data report?
Yes.
Oh, it's funny because you used to give you a little prompt that was up. What was up? Okay, well, so as regular attendees of this meeting know, I try to keep an ongoing report of data collected both by our homelessness management information system and by our on-the-ground reporting of outreach efforts and shelter efforts. And there's some good news, I think. I mean, if you're tracking this on a month-to-month basis, you can see the big blue line is our total number of people experiencing homelessness in Goleta. And we see a pretty steady decline over the last 3 months. And I think what that can be largely attributed to is that we've managed to get people out of encampments and into shelter to some extent, or or maybe they've moved on. To some extent, we've lost contact, but there has been this decline that you can see with the dark blue bar in the total people living in encampments. Our shelter population has stayed pretty consistent. These are people who live in Goleta who we're tracking at shelters like Hedges House of Hope and Path. And this is a much larger number than is reported in the point in time count because we're actually tracking Goleta residents into shelters that are outside the city of Goleta. And then the green bar are people living in vehicles. And as you'll see, this is a very low number compared to the actual number of people living in vehicles. That's on the next slide. So what I've been tracking is an unfortunately significant increase in people living in vehicles in Goleta over the last 3 months. The total has gone from 95 in April to 206 in June. And so that's more than a doubling. I can say what this means. I can't say why it is. Or I can say my theory for why it is. What it means is that we're seeing more and more people living in vehicles on the streets of Goleta. And this has been confirmed by law enforcement. It's been confirmed by resident reports. It's been confirmed by New Beginnings Outreach. They're the ones who are mapping these folks onto the Fulcrum database. You might wonder why this number 37 or 32 is so much lower than these numbers. And the reason is that these are the folks, the people in the green bar up here are identifying as homeless. They are willing to say to providers, I'm homeless. and I want services. Unfortunately, in the majority of cases, these are the people who are living in vehicles are people who work, people who are here for maybe a short period of time, but have not expressed an interest in services. But we do, based on looking at their vehicles and seeing evidence of people living in them, that's what these numbers represent. And I've talked about this before in public meetings, but this is definitely an area where we want to have a better understanding of how we can serve these folks and how we can move them on into housing. And New Beginnings is, they have a lot of resources. They're trying to connect with folks. They haven't given up on all these folks, but they've been told no a lot by people who are currently have other things going on. And then I can take some questions after I'm done. I'm almost done. This slide is a term that we use in the homeless world is called functional zero. And functional zero can be defined as the number of people that we're counting coming into homelessness is equal roughly to the number of people getting housed. And so the idea behind this is that people's homelessness will be a one-time experience. It'll be a brief experience where we can get them placed as quickly as possible. And what we see in Goleta, and we're even ahead, I think we're a little bit ahead of our game, is that we're pretty close to functional zero here. I mean, when we've identified people as newly homeless, we're finding housing alternatives at about the same rate. It doesn't mean that everybody who's newly homeless is getting housed right away, but we're doing pretty well at placing people here in Goleta as it pertains to new people becoming homeless. And this is before we've seen the new housing come online. We're expecting 25 units, I believe it is, at the Patterson Point project and 100 units at Heritage Ridge in the next couple of years. So, I'm hoping that we, can see a significant dent in the bigger numbers that you saw earlier. This is just these numbers quantified. The latest quarter, we had 28. That's the 3-month period. We had 28 newly identified, 20 housed. Over the course of a 12-month period, we still see this unfortunate reality of a kind of a 2-to-1 number. But because I'm tracking it quarterly, we may see, this is still reflecting this big jump in homeless people and a fairly small number of people housed during earlier in the calendar year or the year over year. So we'll see what happens as time goes on if we can really keep this more consistent. And then in terms of special population, so 140 people have been identified this month. Of those, 61 are seniors. That's nearly half that are seniors. That's a real concern because people who are seniors, start to have health needs. They start to have, their whole variety of things, which is very worrisome. Our numbers of transition-aged youth have stayed pretty consistent over the course of the last year. And then the stubborn veterans number, I'm hoping to get to zero. We know who these veterans are. We're working with them, and I'm hoping to get this veterans number to zero as quickly as possible. So that's my data report. Let's see if I can stop sharing. Oop. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Randy.
I just, I don't know if you have these numbers, but do you have any idea how many of the people in vehicles are students?
No. Let's see. Did it stop, Landon?
No, we can still see your screen. I may be able to take it off if you want to just.
It's weird. I don't see a good and easy way to stop sharing this. Like, you used to have a red button that said stop share.
I took it off.
Oh, good.
Now.
Okay.
Good.
So Randy, there are at least at City College and actually also at UCSB, there are offices that track homeless students. And I believe they're on our list for this meeting. So I think we have been inviting those folks regularly to come and see what's going on with homeless services because they do have kind of an equivalent service provider on campus. I think there are 3 staff or something like that. Unfortunately, I don't get their data. They haven't been attending meetings. I can reach out to them because I agree with you. that's clearly, a driving factor. And so I would imagine that some number of those folks are students.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other data questions or questions about Goleta and Goleta's response? I will say, as long as I have the floor, that I've been getting a lot of requests for service for a relatively small number of people. And these are people that are well known to our homeless services folks. It's, we have a handful of people who are clearly in need, who just continue to refuse to work with us. And it must be hard on our service providers. It's a frustrating situation. And really the only kind of advice I'm getting over and over again, because I've been talking to people nationally, I've been talking to people statewide on this very question of, like, what should we be doing? We have all these resources, we were offering all of this, and the answer is that patience does prevail in the end. That if we continue to offer a friendly face and a hand out, a hand up to get people to look for services, that eventually people do take advantage of it. And so, as much as I can encourage you all who are out there in the field to keep at it, and recognize, and also if people are in clear distress, to notify our emergency responders. But this is unfortunately an ongoing issue, and the poll that I did of 10 similar communities to Goleta, they have the same issues. I mean, there's some people just consistently who have been homeless for many years it's very difficult to get them placed. Mayor Perotti.
Thank you. Um, I'm wondering if I was contacted last week, I believe it was. It might have been the week before, from a friend who is also a realtor who is selling a house on Kyriel 7500, somewhere in their block. It's by Brandon. And she wanted to know if I knew anything about a woman who has been displaced from her, I guess, where she was living. Have they contacted you? Do you know? I'm guessing I know who that is, but I'm not sure who the woman might be.
Yeah,
And
I mean, we can't, in a public meeting, we can't
yeah,
really talk about the needs of a particular person.
right.
But in
But
this
I just want to
case,
make sure you were aware of this
yeah,
call.
yeah,
Okay.
I've received probably 100 requests for service regarding her
Okay.
over the last couple of years, and we've made nearly 200 attempts to work with her. So this is a tough one.
Well,
Yeah,
like I said, I was just hoping they did reach out to you, and
yeah. No, we're trying everything we can think of.
thank you.
That's all I have, Lena.
Thank you, Chuck. I was wondering, Chuck, if you'd be willing to just share the updates from the city council meeting the other day, in which the point in time count results were shared, or just at least a general update about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if people are really curious about that meeting, it's good to go and actually watch it. You can fast forward to where the county did their presentation, rather than repeat the whole presentation here. Um, but basically, a lot of what I just talked about is what the report talked about. We are seeing a decrease countywide in encampments and people living, kind of unsheltered, unprotected out in the wild, so to speak. And that's because of many of the people on this call are constantly out in the field doing outreach, connecting people to services. So that's working. It's been a significant decline. We also saw, because of the county's large effort to create new shelter through the Dignity Moves project, countywide, we saw a lot of people moving into shelter, and that's true in Goleta as well, both at Hedges House of Hope, at La Posada, and at Path. We've seen people moving into shelters, and that's been really successful as well. The thing that's troublesome, and it was shown in both the point in time count and in further communication with the council, is this issue of people living in vehicles. And Cora could probably write a master's thesis on the difficulties at trying to connect with this new population. I mean, they're not new, but there's a growth, a steady growth. And my hypothesis about that, and I did talk about this at the council meeting, is rents continue to grow. I mean, the last 3 years we've seen over a 25% increase in rents in the city of Goleta. The newest apartments are renting for nearly $5,000 a month for a 1 bedroom. I mean, it's and the theory is that people will move into the new apartments and then leave behind the old apartments, but in many cases people are rehabilitating the old apartments too. So we're in a rent crisis. Everybody knows that, and so we have to address this on a lot of different fronts. And the county was cognizant of that, and they talked about the New Beginnings. New Beginnings received a large grant last year to do outreach and support for people living in vehicles. They are meeting their targets. They're having a lot of success, but we are looking at a much larger number of people coming into the system than we even anticipated. That was reflected in the comments. Mayor Prodi, you were at the meeting. Do you have anything else that you would like to add in regards to that?
I think one of the questions that came up, thanks, Chuck, maybe I brought it up actually, was I think I asked the question whether the folks living in their vehicles are from Goleta, or are they passing through, or are the ones that are not considering themselves homeless, just passing through camping in different locations, so they're not from here. And can you touch on that?
Yeah, and I could give the same response that I gave at the meeting. At this stage, we in terms of like real on the ground information, we only know what people tell us.
Right.
And so what we're hearing from a lot of different people are different things. And this is based on reports from Connor, from Cora, from other people that I've talked to. You have different groups. You have quite a few seniors who clearly are disabled and have a lot of needs. And many of them are Goleta residents or have very strong ties to Goleta. You have people who are working in Goleta, and I think that's a growing population of people who are working at Costco, working at the university, working in a lot of different places, some of whom have got fancy cars and vans that are not bad places to live, and they're figuring out how to make it work. Some of whom are not, or are commuting from places where they do have housing. So you have people from Ventura and from further south who might come up for a few days at a time and live in their vehicles. So you have the working poor, the working homeless. And then the third group are kind of like what you said. They're I wouldn't necessarily call them vacationers, although they're living a life on the road. And this is I think also a growing population of people who can't afford housing in California, who are traveling from place to place. And Connor, there's a very obvious example of a person that Connor talked to, who has a big school bus, and he spends most of his time on BLM government land, Bureau of Land Management land, out in the rural part of the state. But during fire season, he has to move west, and he's chosen to be in Goleta. He's not breaking the law in terms of parking rules. He moves his vehicle regularly. He isn't where he shouldn't be at different times of night. I mean, so he knows what he's doing. And there's some of those folks. I mean, and he's not alone. I mean, I think there's some of those folks. So you have a complex kind of sociology of people living in vehicles. And I do think that the tip of the concern are the people that are most vulnerable. And so we are working, I'm learning more about this through literature, through attending conferences. We have the great efforts of New Beginnings to work with those most vulnerable people. And so I think that, we do have a good sense of who those very needy people are. In terms of this impacts to our city from the other kinds of folks, that's a broader question. It is a homeless issue, but it's also a city management issue of how do we, what do we need to do so that there's not negative impacts on our community from these folks, because they're living a different lifestyle than our zoning intended. And so I think that's a much bigger question that we're going to have to kind of grapple with in future years about how do we manage this growing population of people living in vehicles. And the way it was done historically is with mobile home parks. One of the things I saw in Washington State were big development projects of people building mobile homes or tiny homes, and they were displaying them along the freeways. I mean, this is clearly an issue that's growing nationwide, of finding alternative housing that's smaller, that's cheaper to construct. And so we'll see. I mean, this is out of the homelessness space, but encouraging developers, encouraging people to make use of their land to support this population that can't be in the existing housing market is going to be part of the challenge, I think.
Yeah.
So a lot, I'm saying a lot, but I mean, it's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
And I think we're very fortunate to have the work of New Beginnings with some of these folks that are really vulnerable, really struggling.
I thought the report was well received. I had hoped more people would have participated. Maybe that's a good thing that, but I thought there'd be more questions. But maybe they'll watch the meeting and it's on Channel 19 if they get that, or they can stream it, or I think it's on YouTube now. So
Mhm.
so it is available if people want to get that.
YouTube's the easiest.
Yeah.
It is on YouTube. I put the link in the chat window for anyone who's interested, and we can send that out afterwards if anyone needs.
Thank
I mean,
you.
the other news that's of interest maybe to the folks here is that we used to have a strong and wonderful leader in Kimberly Albers who was managing all the homeless programs for a number of years. But I think we have a very exciting team now. We have Joe Tisvanek, who oversees all of housing and community development. And then we have Jet Black Mertz, who's a longtime activist and leader in homeless services. Running the show at the county. And so, I think both of that team is really useful and good for the work that we need to do.
Any questions for Chuck or Mayor Brody? All right. The last general check-in thing we wanted to talk about was that there have been some recent clearings on Caltrans properties specifically that I believe all took place last week, but I just wanted to check in with county staff as well as the folks doing outreach to hear if there's any other updates from that. So I guess it's kind of a question for Chuck or Sarah Brazel or any of the outreach teams.
Well, I do know from the
folks.
perspective of Caltrans that there were 3 sites that were cleared. But I've also heard anecdotally that people are already back. I don't know if Ellen or Sarah have anything to add to that.
Thank you, Chuck. This is Sarah with County. I have no updates to add, but yes, it's my understanding that there were 3 clearings and we are seeing returns. Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and go to all of our outreach providers to do check-ins. So let's go around the horn. And why don't we start with the safe parking team, Cora?
Happy Monday. I have to say it was a little disheartening to see those high numbers there with the safe parking with the vehicular homelessness that's going on. And it's disheartening because we are out there, and like Chuck said, we are getting a lot of no's quite frequently. But the thing is that we are continuing to go out there and talk to these people, and we've sort of shifted when people are willing to talk to us, we're kind of shifting our conversation a little bit. I think, Chuck, you were at that diversion seminar that I was at. And so we're starting to, just lightly approach, diversion, seeing if people have anybody where they could go and stay, or, another place that they might be able to go somewhere and have family members, or they might be able to be housed, or so it's a delicate approach when you're talking about that, but it is something that we're sort of, trying to work into those outreach efforts when we can. And Chuck also just nailed it right on the head in regards to the population, a lot, like a lot of them are seniors with a very limited income. We just enrolled a family of 4 who lost their housing, and so they bought an RV, and their plan is to just live in that RV until they can go buy land elsewhere. That's their plan. We've enrolled them, so they're in our lots for now. But some people that are living in their vehicles, they just can't even fathom the idea of having housing again. And so, you know, we just we're just out there. We're trying to get them enrolled. When enrolled, we're trying to move them into housing, and also, you know, the SURF program really did allow for a lot more outreach to be happening. So that is also probably is a reason why the numbers are greater as well, because the outreach is, you know, quadrupled since we had the SURF program and all the outreach workers that are engaged in outreach with that. So that's what we're doing. We're still out there. We're still trying to come up with new ways to entice people into our program. And helping everybody the best that we can.
Cora, two questions. One is, I know it's not you who are responsible, but maybe you could take this back to the team. We're hoping that you all can present on August 12th at the Homelessness Issues Standing Committee on the SURF program. This, for people who don't know what SURF means, there were 3 grants that were provided for outreach programs, and the most recent one is SURF 3, California Encampment Relief Fund. And New Beginnings has been doing this countywide, and we would love a presentation, you know, about how it went or how it's going in Goleta.
Sure.
And Christine knows and Cassie knows, but I just, you know, reminding. And then the other question is, in terms of safe parking, I know that we've actually had trouble filling safe parking spaces, partly because of what you said, because people feel like, you know, they're comfortable with what they're doing. Do we still have vacancies in Goleta of safe parking?
We do still, yeah, we do
Yeah.
still have vacancies. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Got a hand from Judy.
Are there opportunities for people that don't have vehicles to be helped by the New Beginnings? Like people who are homeless, but they have a vehicle.
Judy, our program specifically targets the people that are living in their vehicles, but I know that there's also a bunch of other service providers that are on this call that have outreach for people that are not in their vehicles.
So, Judy, for the city of Goleta, we have a large program with CityNet. And so anybody who is unhoused in Goleta can approach, including people in vehicles, can approach CityNet for additional services. So this is the contract the contracted provider we have for Goleta.
You know, New
Okay.
Beginnings does have counseling services that we all make available to everyone in the community. So there is that we have available.
Cora, once more, can you just go over kind of some of the hot spots that you all are hitting on a regular basis?
Sure. The hotspots that we are hitting on a regular basis is everything out there by Pacific Oaks and the gym that's out there. We're also still hitting the over there off of Ward on Eckwell. We're hitting that. We're also hitting the places out there in the Isla Vista area. We all and then we also are hitting those are the actual hotspots that we hit quite frequently, but then there's also the other places that haven't necessarily been deemed hotspots where we've found people, which are also near, I'm sorry, near, give me a second, it's coming to me. We also have, that's not what's not coming to me, but we also hit
Gersh Park, is that what you were thinking?
Yes, thank you, Gersh. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Gersh Park. And then we also have several places out on Cathedral Oaks that we hit. They're also considered hotspots. We also, it's not quite Goleta, but we have the Tucker's Grove area. There's the new places that we've been asked to go hit, which isn't necessarily a hotspot, but it's all that stuff in Old Town Goleta. So we've been hitting a lot of the Old Town Goleta places as well. And then there's also some other spots that we've been getting to out by Dos Pueblos, out in that vicinity. And then, of course, there's always a lot of other areas. We'll hit the Butterfly Grove. Those are all the real hot spots that we hit, which aren't necessarily considered hot spots in regards to the surf program, but they're hot spots in where we are always targeting. So, regardless of the places that are considered hot spots in regards to surf, there's just the whole other areas that we also target that we know are frequented, like the Goleta Beach area. We're out there. Those types of things. Also, we also hit over by the Humane Society, and we hit over by which I think is also not in that vicinity, but we're out there. And if anybody has any places that they want us to check in on, absolutely reach out to us, and we'll make sure that we go and reach out to anybody that needs help or asks for us to be there.
Thank you, Cora. All right, let's go to our CityNet team.
Hi, good afternoon. We were at our regular spots of the marketplace, Old Town. We did outreach to the transit corridor in general, especially the areas that were hit by the clearings. They are re-inhabited. It's pretty typical to just see them move back and forth over the fence between Caltrans and UPIR. So that's pretty standard. We have made a little bit of progress with some folks in the marketplace that are well known, but it's pretty consistently no interest in services, mostly out of concern over providing information. We are still working on a relocation from someone on the train tracks. And I will also be going on medical leave starting on Wednesday for 2 weeks. So if you need anything, you'll just be reaching out to Al or Saul.
Thank you, Ellen. Best wishes. Let's go to the Good Samaritan surf team.
Hello, this is Destiny with Surf 2. Last week we engaged with 51 clients, and we have been supporting clients with mental health applications, housing authority applications, medical appointments, and assisted with the La Posada cleanup. We canvassed San Pedro Creek, Las Vegas Creek, Maria Ignacio Creek, Eckwell Creek, Arroyo Burro Creek, San Jose Creek, and Atascadero Creek. Fulcrum has been updated with detailed photos. Thank you.
Thank you, Destiny. And the Good Samaritan ARPA team.
Hello, everyone. This is Jose with ARPA Outreach. Number of clients engaged last week were 30. We also continue to help our clients get document ready, giving them rides to Social Security Office, DMB. We also helped out with the La Posada cleanup last week, and we also did a fulcrum from Montecito all the way to Santa Barbara. So photos are updated with pictures and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Sarah, any other updates from the county that you wanted to share?
No specific updates at this time. Just also want to highlight, though, that we do have our youth case conference. We do our youth case conference in months that have that extra week. So we will be focusing on youth. If you have any youth that you want to make sure are included, make sure to have them added to HMIS. We're going to be reviewing document readiness and also looking at some openings for North County youth providers, but want to make sure that all providers have the youth for the Goleta area included in HMIS and updated with contact information and location information updated. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Adriana, any updates from Hedges? Adriana, I apologize.
Hello. Hello. No, it's fine. I don't have any updates. We still have no beds available, but I did want to mention that we are getting a lot of people on the daily coming in just off the street. So I know that they keep saying that they're getting ticketed now. So I've just been referring them to the different outreach teams, but that seems like it's very consistent and it's very every day. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
Adriana, when you say people are being ticketed, can you say a little more about that?
What they've been saying to me is that they're being ticketed, they're getting fined for being out in the park. So I don't know exactly how that true is, or if they're just, I don't know if they're just being told to leave or if they're actually being ticketed, is what they've been saying. But it's been on the daily, and I've had different people. Some days I get the regulars that come in, and I'll ask for a sandwich or whatnot, but it's still, very consistent.
Is it primarily parks in Isla Vista, or are people talking about other like Gersh Park or other parks?
No, it's here in Isla Vista.
It's Isla Vista.
Mhm.
Okay. I know that we have Officer Gaston usually.
What is your position?
Unless is he here? Is that
organization?
Gary that's here? Is that Officer Gaston?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm so sorry about that. So I think if it's going to be in Isla Vista Park, that's probably going to be Connor.
Oh,
If it's UCSB property, that's us. We do share some jurisdictional boundaries in Isla Vista, but Sheriff's Department takes primary out there. If I heard correctly, you're referring to one of the parks out there, or
yeah.
in this case.
So I didn't realize that. I apologize. So Officer Warden, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I know it's not your beat per se, but is the sheriff taking is the sheriff's office taking a kind of a more aggressive approach in the parks in Isla Vista? Is that kind of, I mean, that's anecdotally what we're now hearing.
No, so it's not the sheriff's office, it's county parks after Grants Pass started taking a more aggressive approach. So they actually cleared, they cleared the parks in Isla Vista after Grants Pass, and the park rangers continue to cite people that are camping in the park, specifically in East Coelho Park. So, yep.
Thank you. And to just kind of flesh out a little bit of what Officer Warden is saying for everyone on the call, we are seeing, and it's coming from the top, from the Supreme Court, from the President of the United States, and even from our governor, less and less tolerance of people living outside, and particularly in public areas. And so I know for all you outreach folks, that represents even more challenge, because it may be harder to find people. People may be getting ticketed, and then they have expenses that they have to deal with. But it's a reality that the political winds are now blowing in this other direction, where there's less tolerance, and so it makes our jobs harder. But that's true. I'm sorry, Adriana, I interrupted you. I think, did you have anything else to report?
No, just that. You didn't really interrupt me.
Go ahead, Judy.
I'd like to know, what is your organization? Who's your employer?
Adriana's with Hedges House of Hope, with Good Samaritan.
Thank you.
And City of Goleta contracts for 4 beds there.
And then let's go to Hilda from Buena Tierra, the permanent supportive housing in Old Town.
Hey, happy Monday, everyone. No updates on my end. Everything seems pretty quiet and mellow here for the past few weeks. So
that's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
How are you doing on renting up? Are you full now?
No, we still have some beds available. But again, that's still through CES. But yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious about the vacancies. So again, for people who may not understand how the system works, Buena Tierra is a housing first project, and people are sent there to apply for an apartment through our coordinated entry system. And it could take time because not everybody who is selected we're not necessarily able to get them to move in. So that's part of why it takes some time to lease up at Buena Tierra. So I do know that it's an ongoing process. I don't know whether is Sarah still on the call. She's still here. And Sarah I don't know how much, Sarah, you can report on the status of Buena Tierra. It does seem, it seems to me, after, based on these calls, we have had quite a few vacancies for quite a while at Buena Tierra. Do we know why that is?
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, Buena Tierra and any permanent supportive housing property does vary the lease up times, and for a multitude of reasons. One thing to note is that the openings as they occur may occur for different types of units. We have transitional age youth units, we have veteran units, we have chronically homeless units. So depending on the unit type and the mechanism by which they are filled, it takes different time. In terms of the open units currently, wondering if you can, Hilda, identify for us what units that you see currently available, and then I can speak to, in terms of coordinated entry, what our referrals have been or what that looks like. Because I know it's also the housing authority doing the review of application and documentation requirements also. And sometimes that's where it can also get held up a bit.
And she may not know all the
Yeah,
categories.
if you have any insight on that, on what type of unit are the particular openings currently?
Thank you. That's a great question. As Chuck mentioned, I do not have access to that. I know there are a certain number of rooms that are open because I keep track on this beautiful spreadsheet I created. But yeah, I don't have access to knowing if they're VA, TAY, or chronically homeless.
Yeah, it's my understanding that we did just fill, there was 2 TAY openings and we did just get those filled. So that was wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah, those are here and they're doing great.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it is my understanding that there were some chronic units that were open. We did make referral to Housing Authority for all of those units. So those should all now be in process. And hopefully next time we all meet together, we can report that those have been filled as well, but those should be being filled shortly. In terms of the VASH units or veteran units, we don't directly make referrals for those. Those are filled through the VA and through VASH, but those usually are filled quite easily and quickly. So hopefully those units will be filled soon. We'd love to see that happening, and county is here to support in any way that we can to help expedite if there is a sort of a lag in the system, and there's any way we can help. We're here for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
And we are a little bit short on time, so I'm actually going to just bypass checking in with our law enforcement. I do want to just see if there's any questions or concerns from the community members that are on the call. Go ahead, Irene.
I just have a couple questions. I did see the video, the point in time, but I didn't hear, did the point in time go onto the tracks to actually include that?
Yes, they
Yes.
they send out outreach teams who specifically know the train tracks so that they make sure they count all the people that are out there.
And did they go to Goleta Beach?
Yes, it's basically everything within Santa Barbara County. We have volunteers that go to every census tract to make sure there's total coverage.
And I have one really bizarre question. I heard Trump say, I heard this guy who says he's the president say he's going to put everybody that deserves to be in a mental institute in a mental institute. I mean, I heard that literally on. And did you ever get any information on that?
Yeah, so the president doesn't have any power to put people into mental institutions unless he wants to completely change how our society works. You know, it would require force. So what, as I understand it, in a more kind of on the ground reality, the state of California has allocated a significant amount of resources to improving the opportunity for people with behavioral health issues to take advantage of housing. And so we don't have Be Well on the call today, but some of the units at Buena Tierra are mental health units. We have mental health beds in the shelters, and then the county has created and is in the process of creating more housing and supports for people who are with behavioral health issues who are homeless. So I actually think this is a bright spot because they've dedicated millions of dollars to improving that system. And so we may see more people who are very vulnerable getting help, but it typically requires that people want it. So that's one of the hardest issues to deal with when you're trying to work with people. They have to want the support. They have to want the help.
And one more quick question. Is the Faro Center still in progress?
Yes.
Oh, you might have come on a little late. Go ahead.
I came in late.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. So the Faro Center is still open. Starting this Friday, August 1st, it'll be transitioning to being by referral only. So we're still kind of working out what that means, but it generally means people won't be able to just walk up anymore. They'll have to be referred there by, Deputy Warden or by CityNet or Good Samaritan. So we're kind of working out the details on that, but continuing to stay open.
And what about Goleta? Is that still in progress, the Goleta Faro Center? Because the last time I was on, that was a project that you were working on.
Yeah, we mentioned it too. It's on hold pending funding. So we're seeking additional funds to make it work here in Goleta.
Thanks, Irene.
So can people?
Oh, you got Deputy Warden has his hand raised, and then we'll go to you, Judy.
I was just going to go back to Irene's statement about the president. The White House, I don't know if everyone saw, did issue an executive order at the end of last week that kind of goes into encouraging states to pursue civil commitment, asking the Attorney General to overturn anything he can overturn, and it kind of talks about federal funds and everything for homelessness too. But so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. We're kind of waiting to see how it all trickles out. Go ahead, Judy.
So how would a person get mental health help? I understand that it's kind of difficult right now. They're overwhelmed, or is that still true?
No, and it's the opposite. There's more resources dedicated to people with mental health issues, particularly homeless people, than has ever been the case. So what it takes, unfortunately, that the part that I find a little unfortunate is that people have to really want it and they have to advocate for themselves. And so it makes it, unless someone has a strong advocate and is someone who can kind of help them navigate the system, it's still challenging. But I have a lot of contacts at behavioral wellness. I'm more than happy to anybody who's interested in trying to help, needing help to maybe navigate that. I can help with that. We have a very committed and accessible homeless services folks from Be Well that spend a lot of time in Goleta. So it's actually it's actually a very good time in terms of resources for those programs.
So that is called Be Well now instead of the other names that it used to have?
It's the Department of Behavioral Wellness, or Be Well.
Okay, thank you.
And if you look on the screen, Landon post a phone number that is a 24-hour hotline.
And that's for Be Well. Randy, did you have? Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
Let's see. I was at the Shower of Blessings sort of annual reception a couple of weeks ago, and I was sitting next to two board members, and they mentioned that they are looking for another location located in Goleta for 1 day a week. So if anyone has any suggestions or any any thoughts at all, I think if you I could at least talk to Linda Liker with Shower of Blessings. I think they would welcome any sort of assistance there.
So I had a placeholder. I want to defend the city a little bit. I had a placeholder in my budget for 2 years, and funding reserved for the Showers of Blessing or for a shower service provider, and I wasn't able to get anybody interested. So I know that they have said they're interested in doing showers, but they've yet to sort of move forward. And my hope is that at some point in the future we can make a neighborhood navigation center work in Goleta. But I mean, we had the resources available and they didn't take advantage.
Well, I'll pass on, pass that on to.
I mean, I'm in contact with them. We've been talking for years about them coming.
Okay, I'll direct them to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
We got about 2 minutes left. Any other community questions or concerns? or any other updates or announcements from anyone while we're all together?
Well, just in between this meeting and the next, there will be a homeless issues standing committee on August 12th that the public is certainly welcome to tune into. It's would be an online opportunity. And it's from 2 o'clock to 3:30 on August 12th.
Thank you, Chuck. All right, we went through a lot today. Thank you all. Please do reach out to Chuck or myself if you have any questions, but we really appreciate the conversation with everyone. Have a good rest of your week. Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody.
Everyone. Thank you.